What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So, in this video, we are going to be getting back to the religion thing. I know I have not been doing this like I should be. It's like every other week. Sometimes that's completely on me. I apologize. But this one should not take long. I'm gonna be pretty quick with this one. But we're going to talk about heaven. Okay. And my thoughts all around that from a biblical standpoint, to just my personal feelings and thoughts. So yes, thank you very much for joining me here. If you like the content we're giving, I'm doing, please consider subscribing, like, share, all that good stuff. Not just here, but even on my other channels, JMDPLAY, JM Drummer. Do the Discord there, one-time donations, or also up top, JMD Nation Patreon, $3 a month. Any kind of help or support you give is very, very much appreciated. So, all right. So, heaven. All right. Again, just as I always do, disclaimer right off the start. I am a ex Christian. Okay. I grew up as a Southern Baptist, evangelical Christian or whatever. At least from the age of 5 to 25. But now I am basically under the atheist umbrella. Yeah, I have my own little personal views on all of that, as far as religion, the Bible, other religions and beliefs and whatnot. Um, but and just life in general. But anyways, so yes, that's my little disclaimer caveat, so that you from the beginning know where I'm coming from, as far as my um, point of view is concerned. So, all right. Previously, we've talked about. Uh, where did we start? We started with I think hell, and then I talked about Satan, and then I talked about God. So now we're going to talk about heaven. And I think I vaguely sort of probably branched this into the God part quite a little bit, but this is just going to be kind of an expansion of that. Like I said, there's a reason why this one should be pretty quick. And then the next video I do will be on Jesus. And then I think I'm going to go from Jesus to just the Bible in general, from a textual point of view, anyways, or literary point of view. So, anyways, heaven. All right. So yes, clearly, okay, I'm an atheist, and I think I've probably already made the point, but since I don't believe in hell, don't believe in Satan, don't believe in God, at least in the traditional sense, and so therefore I also, short answer, don't believe in heaven. But if that's all you wanted to know, congratulations. This is the end of the video for you. But anyways, we're going to go kind of further on, talking about this from, like I said, the biblical standpoint. Growing up, it was heaven was just, something that was magical. The afterlife special. Basically that you live your whole life, devoting your belief and faith in Jesus, and in being a Christian or whatnot, so that you could make sure that when you died, you ended up in heaven. Simple as that. You ended up in heaven. You ended up in the eternal bliss that is that, and not in hell. Eternally burned by hellfire. Basically. That's it. That's the core of it. And at its base, right? That you live your life to become to get to heaven, right? It's all about, like, you live in this life just to get to an afterlife, and an afterlife that's promised to you by believing in, like I said, believing in Jesus, that he died for your sins and all that good stuff, rose again, and that gives your gateway into heaven. Because if as long as you repent about that, everything you do in this life doesn't really fucking matter. You just are able to go to heaven and live there eternally. Some people consider that it's based on, things and acts that you do here. Some say it doesn't matter. And there's there's arguments for both of that. But like I said, that's ultimately there. It all kind of, the more modern idea for me feels like it's all sort of wrapped in the descriptions and stuff through Revelations, because which is where I sort of, if you leave it at just that, without Revelations in the picture, I feel that it's not that hard to get around. Like it's pretty self-explanatory, and it kind of seems reasonable to attach yourself to. For me, it was when I got into Revelations and started looking at it through that lens, that I started to be like, wait a minute, what? This isn't making sense. And because you have so much emphasis in one way, that's placed, in your Bible studies, in church, and through your pastors and your, youth ministers, or your Sunday schools, whatever, that, to being a Christian, being one of faith and everything, puts you on the narrow path, puts you on the path that is unworldly, right? And you are just kind of, keep yourself from the worldly ways. And to find yourself in those worldly ways is to find yourself engulfed in sin and all of those, everything that comes with that. Even material things, right, of the world. And so I found it very interesting that once you got to Revelations, when it comes to heaven and the picture that is painted by it, it's painting this picture of all these worldly things. It's this immaculate beauty, filled with things that are of this world, gold and pearls and all this, all these different things that are all worldly, and it just, that's when I started going like, but why? This doesn't make sense. If we're supposed to keep ourselves from worldly things, or not dwell on the materialistics of this world, why would we then create why would there be a place created for us to dwell in eternity that seems so materialistic? Like that, just something that with that just never clicked with me, and it didn't make sense. It seemed contradictory. So that made heaven for me harder to really grasp in, and even though I still straight up believed it in that time of my life, in the moment, it just that alone, and when it comes to Revelations, just didn't make sense. And then there's the contradictions throughout the Bible between Revelations and other parts of the Bible, where the idea that it's like this, it's like these multiple things lying in your mind at the same time, or trying to be true in your mind at the same time, that because when people die in your life, it's like there's this concern that you wanted to make sure that they were on the right path, that they were, knew the word and knew Jesus, and so that they could go to heaven. Like that's that's what you're hoping for, that they went to heaven and not hell. But that's the thing. Also, is like the argument of when you die, going straight to heaven. Like we oftentimes, when we talk to little kids or whatever the case, you can that well they're in heaven right now, because when they start questioning and whatnot, you just automatically, well, yeah, they're in heaven right now. They're in heaven right now. But then there's also the part of the Bible that discusses that we are, that Jesus had when he died and went to heaven, when in his resurrection, he went to heaven to not only just reign at this, right hand of God, but also to prepare a place for us. He's preparing heaven. And so therefore, it's like, okay, well, then if he's preparing heaven, then that means heaven's not ready yet for us to dwell in. So we can't be there when we die. We must not go there immediately. So there's always been a conflict there that, well, why are we telling people that, after they've, loved ones have died, well, they're in heaven or whatever, or even the argument that they're in hell, they were a bad person and so they went to hell or whatever the case. It's like, if he's preparing a place, then that means it's not ready, right? And even Revelations goes further, talking about how, that we are, talking about the coming again, right? The rapture, whatnot. The dead in Christ shall rise. So meaning you're dead, you're in a slumber, and then you will rise, and prepare yourself for heaven. That's when you'll be judged. And then if you judge and you're in the book of life or whatever, and you're judged and accepted into heaven, then you would go into heaven. Of course, then there's the argument, okay, well, then heaven is just some realm somewhere, like in the sky, in the universe somewhere that we can't see, we can't comprehend, we can't touch or feel at the moment. But it's there. We're just going to ascend and go there. Like that's the idea. We're going to go to heaven. But then Revelations also argues that heaven will actually be here on earth. And there will be a new Jerusalem. Okay. That will, once the rapture's done and the time of tribulation and all that, and the, we in the, day of judgment, everything happens, then Jerusalem will be, we will have a new Jerusalem here, and everybody will live in heaven here for eternity. So it's like, okay, now wait a minute. So that means that heaven's actually here on earth. So it'll be, we're not going to another realm. So there's just so much confliction in all the different arguments and like discussion around heaven, depending upon what you're looking at, depending upon where you're taking your information, whether it be from, Revelations or other parts of the Bible. So that was always like, okay, so what is it? What is it? Is there a realm? Are we already going there, or are we not going there? Everybody's just dead and in a slumber. And then one day everybody will, wake up and think of people will be judged, and some will go to heaven, some will go to hell. But is heaven up there, or is heaven going to be here? Where are we reigning? If Jesus is preparing a place, that means he's preparing something. And then what is it? When he comes down, it's going to come down with him, or at some point it's just going to boom, and we're going to be here or whatever. Or is it going to be built here? Is it going to be in that time built here? Like this is so much, like there's so many ways you can think it through, but none of it is like a clear cut answer. And even from the Christian perspective, it can all be true and accepted. And I always found that very weird. That it's just like I had so many questions, and every time I brought up these questions, about, when I would make this argument to my parents or even others, about whether or not we actually people were in heaven or not. Like if I thought my grandparents were in heaven or my great grandparents or whatever the case, or not, and I'd be like, yeah, but right here it says that they are, but here it says that they're not. So which one is it? This is conflicting each other. This is not making any sense. And I mean, I was like, whew, man, I probably like 14, 15 at the time, maybe 16. And I'm like, but these, they're not making any sense. Like, I need answers. I feel like I need an answer here. And you're just telling me that, well, I can't really give you an answer. That is kind of weird. Or it doesn't, that is kind of conflicts with each other, doesn't it? I was like, maybe they're both true, or, I guess you can just ask God when you get there. And it's like, I don't want to wait for that. I want the answer now. Like, this isn't making sense. So there was a lot of those things that played into me really having a hard, like, settlement in my mind when it comes to heaven as a Christian. Because I had these conflicting ideas or these feelings that, and then didn't know how to respond to people when they would say certain things, like, a loved one being in heaven or not, or whatever, it's like, are they? Maybe not yet. I don't know. I'm not saying they're in hell, but maybe they're not in heaven either. Maybe that's where we get ghosts from, and that's, like that's was all the kinds of things going through my head. So it's like it was a very weird thing to hold on to and walk through life with, being conflicted like that. And it didn't seem like an issue for a lot of people. They just accepted it all, or only certain parts of it they concentrated on, and not others. Whether it was because they knew it and just didn't accept it, or thought that one was better than another, or didn't know it at all. I don't know, but I mean, that's just the way it felt. Um, but now, looking at it, from my eyes now, uh, and in the end, so it was like, I'm living my whole life, and there seemed to be like this. It is also this, like, well, I mean, you have this you have this idea that when you believe in it, that it doesn't so much matter what's going on now in this lifetime, that you will be able to, as far as, like, say, time spent with certain people or whatever the case, like, I feel like it causes this, um sort of, taking for granted time in this life, because it's the idea that it doesn't, that, well, even if I miss out on some things, then I still got eternity, with this person or whatever, or these people, whether it be, loved one, family, friends, whatever the case. So you kind of just sort of shortchange your time here in this life, because of the expectation, the idea that, well, we have forever, so it doesn't matter. Um, and me now looking back on that, as someone who doesn't believe anymore, it's like it makes me want to live this life as much as I can in the now, and try to love and associate and communicate with those that I love now, because I don't feel, I know and don't feel that I will have a chance after this. That once I'm dead, I'm dead. Um, there is no afterlife, and I don't have eternity. Uh, I have this life now, and while I still don't do the best I can at that, because life just makes it hard, right? I mean, the speed and going and constantly things going on, and the wheels of life that are set up in our society make it very hard a lot of times to completely, like, you know, be with people you love. But um but it makes me think that way, that, I realize that I this is important. And I think that's what's taken for granted with those who dwell on an afterlife. They're taking for granted what's going on right now and not living to their full, like, potential as far as relationship wise with those that they love, family, friends, whatever, parents, siblings, children, whatever. Um, because they think that they're going to have an afterlife, that they're doing good enough in their religion that they're going to go to heaven, and they're going to spend eternity with them anyway. So it's cool. We'll be able to talk, and we'll be able to live in a much better place, much better situation, without all this heartache and pain and everything. So it's better to just wait till the end, and everything will be cool. Um, and that's where I feel bad for those who believe in that. And I find it I just find it just, I mean, almost to a point of almost a little um, concerning and disturbing. But I mean, it's what they choose to believe. It's what, or maybe even you. It's what you choose to believe. Um, but for me, it's not that way. So I try my best to live what I can here, understanding that I don't have another life, that I don't have anything afterwards. And honestly, most of that I do probably just do my best to just uh, give that time with my kids as much as more than probably anybody else. But um, because I feel like I could give more to that. But also looking at it, I feel like it's oftentimes used as like a coping mechanism. Um, it people finding it hard to believe that this is it. You know, it's like, how can this be it? Right? That's like, that there's got to be more to life than this. We can't just be living this life, whatever, 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, if you're lucky, 90 more. Especially when it comes to the idea of somebody losing their life early, right? Whether it be somebody, through like a unnatural way, whether it be some sort of like a car wreck, or something else, like, something drastic, or whatever, malicious, even, murdered, or whatever the case, in whatever age, 20, teens, child, um or even right after birth. I mean, it's like this idea of coping with the idea that that would be it, right? Even under those just extreme instances, that can't be it. I've got to be able to see my kid again, or I've got to be able to see this person again, or my friend again, or this whatever. Their life was cut too short. They had so much more to live. So, this can't be it. There's got to be an afterlife. They've got to be, um, and I think that's where that. that cope, that, you just can't accept that this is it, that it's just done. Um, that fuels that earning, that yearning for some type of afterlife, a heaven-like experience. And that's tough, especially for someone like me who doesn't believe. That's tough to, you know, I, it is tough. It is tough to accept. It's tough to, acknowledge that, you know, I will never see this person again. Or, you know, um, and that sounds horrible, right? And it feels horrible sometimes. But I'd rather accept what I feel is more realistic. And perhaps maybe I be wrong and be surprisingly, you know, uh, happy in the end than to have had these expectations or hopes and they not happen, which, once you're dead, if that's the case, it's not going to matter. You're not going to know that it didn't happen anyway. But um, that's just the way I feel. So um, I said this wasn't going to be long, so I'm going to cut this one low. That's pretty much all I really need. I feel like I need to say. So that's pretty much heaven for me. It never really clicked for me, and never really made sense in the biblical perspective for me. Just on a physical and logical, like, the whole concept behind it didn't make a lot of sense. It was very confusing. Nothing really lined up, and it all seemed to contradict each other. And it never could get a clear answer. And I don't really think you can get clear answers from that perspective. Now I just look at it as just stuff that was created by people, or, a means of coping, or just, yearning for that, that extra, whether it be for loved ones, or even, again, something that connects you to this higher being that you have devoted yourself to, that's, and dwelling with them also. I think that's really what it was for and about. And I get it. I understand. I just, because I don't no longer believe in that faith, though, no longer believe in that, I sit in a different reality. So for me, my reality is this is my one life, and I shouldn't take it for granted. So, and while I still don't do the best I can, I will continue to try to be better at it. So, thank you very much. Let me know what you think. What do you think of heaven? Think it's real, not real, all that good stuff. And yeah, next time we're going to talk about Jesus. So, thank you very much. And till next time, this has been ClearTalk.